I bypassed the safety switches.
Hey guys, how you doing? It's Henry at Mowers and Blowers. Welcome to another episode. What is this? As you guys saw from previous episodes, I went over to my neighbor Chris's house to help him with a log splitter and make a video about a 27-ton log splitter. If you have 100 horsepower, Briggs & Stratton, you know, as you guys know, this is the lever to engage to put this vertical. Awesome. Oh. Oh, that's... very cool and interesting. While we were over there, he said, hey, do you want this thing? So I've been sitting in my yard for like a year, and I was gonna get it going, but I didn't have time. So he gave it to me. Anyway, he told me he was gonna put this to the curb. And I said, you're gonna throw this away? He's like, yeah, do you want it? I said, I want it only if you're gonna throw it away. Chris, what are you gonna do with this?
I'm gonna throw it away.
He said, hey, do you want this? I'm like, I want it if you don't want it. What are you going to do with it? He goes, I was just going to throw it out. I said, throw it out? All right, I'll take it. Where'd you get it from? He got it from somebody for 30 bucks. He had to go buy some parts for it. He couldn't get it to run. He didn't really try, but he thinks that I could get it to run. Will this run? So I did some research online just to figure out what on earth this is. And so I looked at a couple of labels over here, and I could sort of make out the word ice bear. Ice bear. So I looked up ice bear, and I saw a bunch of youth quads. This is what this is. It's a youth quad. A quad made for utes.
What is a ute?
Oh, excuse me, Your Honor. 2 youths.
That's right. Youths. Anyway, it was easy to identify. Why? Because it kind of has this like spider web design on the fairing. What's left of the fairing? It's all messed up. It's all cracked. It's all messed up. It's missing half of the fairings too. Handlebars are hanging down here. And apparently this is a 110cc Chinese quad for youths. All the wiring has been pulled out, unplugged, whatever. I have no idea what's wrong with it. But it's a gas combustion engine, 4-stroke. And, you know, as long as you got fuel, compression, spark, you should be able to get this running. As long as it still has compression. Tires actually all hold air, and looks like the rear brakes and front brakes do sort of work. It does have an electric start. There's like a key ignition switch hanging there, and there's also a key and ignition switch in the fairing, but it's not connected to anything. So there are some used parts and new parts. I don't believe this is hydraulic brakes. I think it's just, well, actually, maybe it is hydraulic brakes. I don't know. That could be the cylinder. But yeah, there is a little bit of gas in here. I did check. I didn't check the oil yet. We'll find out. It does have this really cool rear cargo rack, which is kind of cool. It does have a solenoid. I think that might be a gear shifter, I'm not sure. On the other side is the brake. There's a foot brake, there's a hand brake. Obviously, this looks like fuel is not connected because that could be a fuel filter. Anyway, it's going to take a lot to get this cranking. There's no battery or anything. I think the main thing I want to do is get a battery. And the thing is, I have this little battery that I got from a review. It's a LifePo 4 battery. It's so light. Anyway, I charged it overnight, so it's completely full. It is so light, really light. Anyway, this is good for, let's say, if you have a motor scooter or a quad or a motorcycle. If you know the motorcycle runs really well, in other words, it only takes a couple of cranks of a push of a button for it to start. It'll start just fine, charge just fine and all that. But if you're testing something like this piece of junk, right, and you'll be cranking all day trying to get it to start, it's probably better not to use this battery, because this will, I mean, you'll get like maybe 20, 30 cranks out of this and the battery will be dead. So look how small it is, you know what I mean? So I'm going to actually try to first hook up a car battery, just temporarily, to it for testing, you know, so I can crank all day if I want with that battery. So I'm going to do that. Try to figure out the wiring, solenoid, positive, negative, just connect it to the battery, see if we can get it to crank. My friend Chris also gave me a box of other parts. So this is like an ignition, I believe, CDI. But look, I mean, it's like brittle and just falling apart as I touch it. This is obviously a solenoid, right? I mean, it's possible that Chris changed all these parts with the new parts. Here we have a headlight module, headlight lenses. Here's a ignition coil. I mean, I'm assuming that he probably changed this because this looks used. You know what I mean? And it has a wiring harness with all different kind of plugs. I mean, look, you got 4 there, you got 3 there. It connects to this CDI ignition thing. Look at that. 1, 2, it's like 7 plugs right there. Another 2 there. Solenoid with the power wire. And this goes to this part here where it shows, you know, you shifting forward and backwards, that kind of thing. This, I have no idea what it is. So, an air filter, these fairings, I don't even know what this belongs to. I think this is you put it on the handlebars and it covers your hands from the wind, whatever. Here's a stator. So it's got like some stuff and a spark plug, you know, and a coupling for this, I think. Anyway, so it's got all this stuff. I don't even know if I need it, because I think that Chris probably changed them. Or maybe not. I don't know. It looks old too. Everything here looks, nothing looks really so new. It looks like it's been used. But look, you got a solenoid here. This solenoid is connected to this red wire with a tab. You have a ignition switch here, but it doesn't click. It just moves from off to on, and it looks new because it still has that blue, you know, thing. This, I don't know what it's for. I mean, I'll figure it out eventually, but I need a negative. You know what I mean? A negative. Ground. I need a ground. So that one here looks like a ground wire. Goes to this, and that's also like a tab. So I'm believing that this is the positive and negative for the battery. So I'm gonna put a big car battery there, attach these wires to the positive and negative, and we'll just crank it and see what happens. Okay, so I had to extend the wire because it wouldn't reach the battery. So I just have some vice grips connected to the red wire that connects to the solenoid on one lug, connected to the positive, make sure it's positive part of the terminal of the battery, negative on a vice grip, connected to another vice grip, connected to the wire that goes to the ground. So this quad has power, 12 volts, going to the starter. So just turn this on. Well, it was on, see? It doesn't click, see? And then I'm just gonna jump the solenoid with a wrench. So ignition's on, we got the power. Let's just jump it and see if it cranks. Ooh, I heard something. Cool, all right. All right, now let's check the oil and spark. Here I believe is the oil. Yeah, we got plenty of oil in there. It's dark, but there's oil in there. So this wasn't going to turn over no matter what, because as you can see, the spark plug boot is sitting right here. Let's just connect it and just give it the benefit of the doubt. See if it has spark. If it turns over with some spray, then it has spark. Oh, that spark plug's not even on tight. Let's take a gander at it. That's a good spark plug. Very clean. Since we took it out already, let's see if it has spark. Either way, let's check for some spark. I don't see any spark. So we don't have any spark. This ignition coil is not even connected. The black one is though. Here's a green wire. For green wire, it was right there, so I'm just gonna shove it in there. Assume that works. I still don't see a spark. There is just so many wires that are disconnected that here I found this thing over here. This is the push to start to engage the starter, but it doesn't work. This is run. This is off, on, I think. This is run. This is off. It's the headlights, low beam, high beam, and off. This has got to be the power start switch, right? Doesn't do anything. Key's on. So yeah, there's like a lot of things that are not plugged in. So I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea what that's for. This whole module is not connected. I think this goes into the transmission. I just don't know. This I just plugged in. I have no idea what that is. What is this? It's not plugged in, but I can't imagine this is important. Like lights maybe, for rear tail lights, but you need to get this working. This. Got to make sure there's power coming out of here that goes into here, that goes to the ignition coil to get spark. Right now we don't have any spark. And it's all this. This is what causes it to spark because there's no flywheel, I don't think. It's electronic ignition. So I stopped what I was doing because I didn't understand why it wasn't getting any spark, because it's not like your conventional lawn tractor type of engine, you know what I mean? This has a CDI with a rectifier, and all that kind of wiring is similar to the golf cart that I used to have. And that caused me, because I didn't understand how that ignition system worked, I stopped working on it and I eventually sold it, remember? Almost the same thing with the snowmobile. I don't have any experience with that kind of ignition system. All I know is lawn tractor equipment, you know. So I went inside and I watched a bunch of videos over the past couple of days. And by the way, happy Thanksgiving. And then today I'm a little bit more clear on why we don't get spark. So we'll come back to that in a second. But first, I saw this listing on Facebook Marketplace from a local guy, literally like 5-10 minutes away from here. And he was giving away looks like a flathead Briggs engine. I could always use it for parts. He was going to throw it away. It's the kind with a pull rope start. But it has a blown engine because you could see that the engine block is bulged out and cracked. So it had a connecting rod let go probably. But I could use the flywheel, maybe the valves, because I have another flathead that has bad valves that I could never get running. Who knows? But he's going to throw it out. I got to get it for parts. You know what I mean? So it's only 10 minutes away. We'll go pick it up and then we'll come back and we'll try to get spark on that Chinese ATV quad. By the way, I think it's a 110 or 125cc quad, which isn't bad. So here's the engine from a local guy. He took it apart, has some good parts in it, and well, he just said that the connecting rod let go. He actually took it apart and confirmed it. But he was just going to chuck this, and I figured, you know, it's got the old recoil starter on it. This is actually a 8 horsepower engine. Has a good external fuel tank, air cleaner cover, you know, all that. Muffler, whatever, so it's good for parts. I don't think I could use my 12 horsepower to convert it, and I have a running 11, so can't do anything with that. So in a future episode, I'll take this apart, and we'll cannibalize it for the parts, sell it on eBay, because some nut out there needs this, that, the other thing. I just went to put the snowblower back into my shed again so it wouldn't take up space in my garage. So after doing some research, I think I realized that the person who got this got the kit where they got a brand new harness, okay, and brand new components such as the CDI and the rectifier. And why I wasn't getting spark was because these two wires that come out of the engine, right? Well, there's a pickup in here. Flywheel is in there, stator is in there, and it bumps. Like the flywheel has a bump, touches the pickup thing, sends like that signal, the pulse signal. These two right here are from inside the engine, as you can see. And this goes to the CDI. It gives it the pulse, right? CDI is the one that provides the power to it. And then that's connected to the ignition coil, magneto, that gives it the spark. Well, when I was trying it and I didn't get spark, it was because these two things are not connected. And the reason why they're not connected is because the person who bought the new wiring harness couldn't connect it to these connectors because they're individual spliced ones like this. So you would have to splice these off, find which ones connect to these two, and get the spark. Then when I was looking here, I noticed that the cover for the flywheel and stator, you're missing the plugs. There's a plug here and a plug there. Well, this thing was left out at least 2-3 years. Water got in there. I'm sure of it because Chris left this outside. So water must have gotten in here. I mean, that stator in there is not going to work now for sure. It's been in contact with water. And God knows if there's a complete flood in here. So Number one, I got to make sure. I got to take this cover off and check it out. And with the box of parts, it also had a new stator in it, and I couldn't understand why he had it. So then this stator does not look like the 110cc stators that I was watching on YouTube. So I went to here and I could just barely make out right here. Engine displacement 123cc. So this is actually a 125cc. And 125cc stators differ from the 110s. But either way though, I'll have to... This is the old wiring harness that came with it, and it has the corresponding plugs to the two wires from the engine. So I could easily just put the old wiring harness back, but I have a feeling that there's a reason why he changed the wiring harness, because either he couldn't figure it out or that there are breaks in it, because this is very brittle. So every time you see quads for sale on Facebook Marketplace or whatever, they're always torn apart and in parts. Like I had one of these things, I think it was a Polaris, years ago, before I even started the channel. And I got it in literally 5 boxes of like 1,000 parts. I ended up putting it together, but of course, back then, I had no idea what I was doing. So I just sold it as is for like $200, which is amazing because I got it for free. Free! Free!
Free! For free!
For That's right, free. Just like this one. But I think that I've got a little bit more knowledge since then to try to get spark out of here and probably get it running. But number one is I got to figure out the wiring. I'm not going to bore you with those hours and hours of trying to troubleshoot the wiring because I don't know enough about it to teach you because I don't know myself. But I'm going to try to put together the wiring, try to connect the vital pieces. I mean, there are miscellaneous wires here that go to the lights, the indicator that shows you if it's in neutral or reverse or forward, you know, that kind of thing. I'm not going to hook those up for now because I just want to get the engine running first, and then I'll work out the other miscellaneous wires. But I don't think I'm going to try to use the old wiring harness because, as you can see, this plug for the wiring harness, the whole thing is really brittle, old, and dry because it's probably sat outside in the sun for, you know, ages, and they're just not good connections. And these wiring harnesses are very cheap. Like a wiring harness is like $15. If you want the entire kit, it's like $30. You know, the kit that includes the entire wiring harness, the CDI, the rectifier, a stator, a pickup thing, solenoid, the whole thing, $30, really cheap. So if I really wanted to, and I couldn't figure this out, I'd have to buy a whole new setup, put that setup on here, and you should get spark. But number one is, how am I going to get a plug for this and that? I saw there was like one for like $8 or something, but I don't really want to spend a lot of money for this thing. You know what I mean? It's a Chinese quad. They're not worth very much. You can buy a whole new one for like $450 on Black Friday, which is today. So I don't want to spend any money on it. I'm just going to try to get it connected, whichever. I don't even know if this ignition switch works because it doesn't click. It just free rolls left and right. Barely does that, you know, so I don't even know if it's on or not. It could also be the steering wheel kill switch, you know, the on-off thing. This thing also comes with a lot of safety switches because it's literally like a youth one. So I've seen videos where these things go bad, you know, the push button doesn't make contact anymore or whatever. So if that doesn't, if we connect all this and it still doesn't work, I'll first check this to make sure this is good. This is kind of expensive, like $10 or something like that, you know, for just that. I might as well just buy the whole kit. And then there's this thing in the back. It's like a tether. You guys that play with ATVs will understand what I'm trying to say is that this is a switch, right? You would tether this onto something, and then if you fell off, it's supposed to come off unless the guy glued it on here so that it wouldn't come off, and then the safety switch is done. See, this is connected, see? So if it's connected, it should run, but if it's faulty, this is supposed to come off, I think. Anyway, if this is on, it's pushing down a button. And if you fall off, this thing pulls it off and it releases the button so that it kills the engine. And then this wouldn't keep running, down the street. So I think it has something to do with this. I don't know if it's an open or closed circuit, meaning that if you just disconnect this, you're bypassing that. I'm not sure. So there's a lot of things I'm not sure of, but the one thing I am sure of is that we need to definitely take that cover off because it's been exposed to the elements. So God knows if it's all rusty and flooded down there with water. Oh, they're different sizes, so make sure you remember. Just 2? 3. Oh, this is the ground also. Very important connection. Gear shifter's in the way. If you rotate it. Oh, look at that. I can just tell you guys right now, there's a ton of water in here. It's all rusted out. There you go. That stator doesn't look terrible, but you can tell there's a lot of debris in here. Just look at this spaghetti. Might have to rewire this whole thing just basic, you know what I mean? So there's not a flood, but you can tell that with the plugs open like that, it exposed it to rain and all that stuff for many years. So this is very rusty. It's not terrible though. As you can see, it's freely moving. Here's the bump, which is like a magnet-ish thing. And that touches the pickup, which is right there, which sends the signal. So it doesn't look all that bad. Let's compare the stator that I have to that one. Here's the new stator. And it looks identical.
Identical.
So maybe we'll take that stator out because, as you can see, it looks considerably different in color on the coils. See how they're like purple, whereas this one is copper. So since we have this, it's new, might as well try to switch that out. This other wire that's coming out also goes to 3 wires, and that looks like it's a sensor for low oil. That's what I'm thinking it is. Has nothing to do with this. So for the ignition system, I don't think this has anything to do with it, other than if you didn't have oil in it, because it connects to some kind of a plug that goes inside the engine that tells you if it has enough oil or not. Maybe, I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, this looks okay. I'm gonna shoot some grease, penetrating oil around the chain, and then I'll replace that stator with that stator because this one looks like trash. Looks pretty easy to remove. This, because it's the 125 kind, the 110 kind, actually you need to mess with the pickup thing to air gap it, just like a magneto to a flywheel. But this one has the flywheel that has the bump on it. So that should already be done. We just need to switch this out. Looks easy enough. Problem is this one has this module on it. The other one doesn't. So a lot of splices, but it's perfect because we don't have a module, the female one on that one, just splicing. So we're gonna do a lot of wire splicing. It looks like simply just 3 5/16. That one is to hold the wire in place. It's just 2. It's also connected to the pickup thing. I think I might have to replace the pickup thing too. There we go. And it is. It's connected to the pickup. So I'd have to remove the pickup too. Which that doesn't have. This one only has a wire. Use the same pickup for the new Stator. In the box, there's a new pickup with the corresponding blue wire and keeper. Okay, I got the new Stator on there. Routed it pretty well. I used these solder connectors. Got the pickup connected. I'm a little worried about that wire down there because that flywheel moves around, and what may cause a lot of problems is that flywheel with vibration, it rubs out that wire connected to the pickup, and then you got no spark after a while. That's probably why a lot of people change out these things. But anyway, I think I did it right. Just got to do a lot of splicing. This is the bump. Clean that up. And then use some deep creep penetrating. Oil up the chain. Lubricate it so that it doesn't rust further. That would be good. I trashed the gasket when I took this off, so I'm going to put a small bead of RTV around it just to keep it kind of waterproof, and then I'll install it. Oh yeah, so guess what, guys? We have spark now. Check it out. Sweet. Okay, I'm gonna blow a little bit of ether into the mouth of the carburetor. There's a choke over here. Kind of sticks. Okay. Let's see if it turns over. We had some pops. A little worried about pops. It turned over. It was in gear though, so I wanted to move. Let's open the choke this time. That's it. I just got to figure out how the gears work though. So there is liquid in the fuel tank, but I think it's water. I'm just going to disconnect this line over here and see what it is. Oh wow. It actually looks like gas. Doesn't smell like it though. Either way, I'm going to drain the whole thing. There is a fuel shutoff, but the lever's broken, and apparently it is broken in the open. Otherwise, we wouldn't be getting any fuel dripping down. Not like a big stream. Maybe it's like half open, half closed. But it does appear to be gas. So obviously we're not going to be able to get this thing going and running in one episode. It's like an hour long already. So I'm going to cut this now, and we'll continue on with episode 2 of the Chinese 125cc ATV quad that I was given for free. And we didn't have spark. Now we have spark because we changed the stator, connected the wires to the CDI and the pickup. We also are draining the gas tank. And it does turn over, fire up, albeit the jumping the solenoid to do it. We're making progress for sure. I didn't think I would get spark today, to be honest with you. I think one of the 90% of the problems with these ATVs is no spark, because there's 1,000 safety switches, 1,000 wires. Look at all this spaghetti. It's ridiculous, right? Cheap quality means that over time, with the vibration of a quad, wire connectors get loose. Cheap plastic gets brittle and crack. Engine fires start because wires touch each other due to that reason. And but you know, everybody says and talks crap about Chinese stuff because they always call it Chinesium or China crap. Well, you still buy them. There's 10 million of these things out there. Americans still buy them, even though they make fun of them and trash them and everything like that. It's still one of the best-selling things out there, better than American stuff. You just wait until those tariffs kick in, 25%. Things that you think were cheap are not going to be cheap anymore. All right, well, that's the majority of the fuel. I'm pretty sure, well, I was going to say pretty sure that there's going to be water in the carburetor, but it doesn't appear to be so with the amount of fuel that we got out of here. Looks like gas or piss. Let's try it again. I lifted up on this because it's usually 1 down, 3 up, something like that. Neutral is a lift, right? So actually, it looked like it was going in reverse. That's what it looks like. That's why you got a big battery to do this. You're going to be testing a lot. Holy cow. I told you it was in reverse. All right, so obviously we got it turned over. It does run. Obviously the gearbox works, at least for reverse. And making some progress in just one episode. That's pretty good. That's way more than I got with my golf cart or the snowmobile. So with things that I'm not familiar with, I haven't worked on a quad ever. So other than put one together once, but not, you know, electrical or the fuel system or anything like that. So this is the most I've ever done with a quad. And while it is intimidating to me a little because it's out of your element, just try it with the knowledge that you know to get it, you know. We got spark, now we got it running, but I think the carburetor is probably dirty because gas was going into the carburetor. Whether we have water in the carburetor or not, we don't know, but it won't stay running on its own, even with gas probably in the bowl, right? And it only runs on this until that runs out, but it does run and turn over. Then we got the ignition system that we got to work out, you know what I mean? Safety switches, ignition system, because it only runs when right now starts with jumping the solenoid. I have no idea about the switches, throttle, anything like that. So that's obviously going to be at least 1 or 2 more episodes to get this running, like sitting on it, running on its own and driving it. But I hope you guys enjoyed the ATV quad episode. Remember to like, share, and subscribe because that'll allow me to continue to bring you small engine content like this one. See you guys next time on Mowers and Blowers.
See you guys next time on Mowers and Blowers.